Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to the video, and today we are talking about GPP psychology. GPP psychology is the best way to get an edge in your GPPs and a larger ROI in your tournaments. This comes with a lot of experience in the game. I've been playing really competitively for about 3 years now, and these are some trends that I've noticed. A lot of people will tell you these trends, but I think it's really important if you have a DFS channel to break down the GPP psychology. So the first piece of psychology that is very important to mention is recency bias. So what does recency bias mean? If a player had a bad game yesterday, people don't roster him today, which is a huge mistake. One bad night does not make the player a bad player, but the way the casual player thinks sometimes is he had a bad game last night, so I don't want to play him today because I don't want to get burnt. But the fact of the matter is, you have to look at the whole picture. Maybe last night he was in a bad matchup. Maybe he's in a more favorable matchup this year. So understanding recency bias will A, lower ownership, and B, lower price, can give you a tremendous edge. Also, recency bias can go swing the other way. If you see somebody had a great night the night before, people may roster him more tonight. But again, it doesn't paint the picture. Maybe he was in a great matchup last night and then is in a horrible matchup today. So then maybe you fade that player. If you can avoid recency bias, your success in GPPs will go up. I always say that one of the number one rules of thumbs of being a GPP player, yesterday's results do not affect today. Number 2, team totals. Oftentimes, many people look to the Vegas sports books to help them build their lineups. There is nothing wrong with utilizing the Vegas sports books to build your lineups. It's a great tool to have in your belt. Look at the over-under. Most people will have the highest team totals as like a priority. So let's say the New England Patriots are projected to score the highest amount of points. Those players will tend to have high ownership. So a way to be different in knowing that, fade the New England Patriots. Doing this will give you an edge, because let's say the Patriots score a ton of points and that the players have a high scoring affair, that doesn't matter if 25-30% of the field is on those players. It doesn't give you a distinct edge. Or maybe play a few plays in that game, but look elsewhere for a majority of your team. If you're on a slate with 6, 7, 8, and onward teams, you can find good value. You can find teams with great totals. It might not be the highest, but you can still find great plays with similar totals. So team totals, understanding how to use it, understanding how to leverage it. Number 2. Number 3, the questionable tag. A lot of people won't roster people who have the questionable tag next to them. And this is very simple. Roster people with the questionable tag and have a backup plan. So a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people won't be by their computer to make the change. If you are able to pick somebody with the tag and have a plan. So if player X has the questionable tag, you roster him. You have a player to back him up. just in case he doesn't play. And then you're able to swap it out before the lineups lock. Now you're getting a great play who is low owned because people were too scared or too lazy to swap him out. People who don't want to do the work of doing a swap out close to lock will have a huge disadvantage against the people who are willing to roster a questionable player and then have a plan to swap him out. And then if he plays and has a good night, you have leverage over the field. So paying up for the questionable tag, playing people with the questionable tag is a great way to gain leverage if you have a backup plan in place if they don't play. Number four. Paying for unfavorable positions. This is kind of hard to tell. Again, this just comes with being in the community for a long time. So I'll give you an example. Typically, the tight end position is a position that many DFS fantasy football players pay down for, which in most cases I will agree with. But if I get a value running back and get a value wide receiver that allows me the leverage to pay up for tight end, that is a great way to gain ground. Now, I'm not saying I would sacrifice a good running back and a good wide receiver just for the sake of playing a good tight end. But sometimes if I find a value play at tight end and wide receiver that I really like, that allows me to get a guy like Travis Kelce or George Kittle, then I can do that. So that's another way to gain leverage. I don't do that often, but it is an option. If the value is there at your main positions, then you can pay up at those unfavorable positions, which typically will help you be different. Tight end in football, center in the NBA, catcher in the MLB games, typically unfavorable positions. But again, you'll learn that with time. And the last one, number 5, don't be afraid to leave money on the table. I'm not saying spending all 50,000 points DK dollars is bad, but for me, and I don't know if a lot of people did this, when I was starting off in this game, whenever I would leave money on the table, I didn't like that. So I would adjust the lineup to use all my points, which is not a good way to play GPPs. If you have a lineup that you like, who cares if you leave points on the table? Don't psych yourself out if you have extra points. Allow the extra salary to just sit. I typically will leave 200 to 500 points on the table with all my lineups typically. But if you build a lineup and you like, and you have 1,000 points left on the table, don't let that bother you. It doesn't diminish the value of your lineup, and in fact, it could help you be different. So don't get psyched out like I did if you leave points on the table. Leaving points on the table can actually help you be different. So that's all I have today. That is my video on GPP psychology. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something out of it. And I'll see you on the next one.